Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 10th of March, 2023 Node.js Node API meeting. Before we get started with our usual agenda, does anyone have any announcements they would like to make? No, then let me share my screen and we will get started. All right, first thing we have is drive towards full coverage. Jack, do you have anything you would like to bring up?
Nope, but I added a new test coverage for the air thing, the base air class. And I think I'm gonna investigate the test that hangs. It's my next step.
Right, okay, that sounds good. Because I guess that's why all of these other PRs are failing.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, yeah, and we do have this issue here regarding it, but
Yep, let me
okay.
take a look at this.
Then anything else you'd like to bring up?
No, I think that's good. Thank you.
All right, then moving on, add list of non-C language bindings. This is work that Nick is working on, and he's not on the call now. But let's just look if there's been any updates here. Nope, nothing here. So moving on, enable debug testing for add-ons. This is something that Michael's working on, and I do not believe there has been any advancement on this either. Nope. Still issues. We'll come back to that one. Document how to check for memory leaks. I have not made any progress on that document. Hopefully I'll have some time in the next upcoming days. Then, just to recap, there is this document that's linked in here, which discusses how to check for memory leaks using Valgrind for Node add-ons. And like I mentioned last week, it reads more of a blog post than I guess, documentation guide. So we'll just have to think of the right avenues to publish this. All right, then moving on. Let's see, burn down issues. We'll do the issues later. Then we have this get contacts for each of the runtimes. We did have this issue that is closed for this group. Can we look at the members of the group? We have 2 members. Okay. So then I guess the goal here is to have the other engines that implement Node API into their engine would be members of this group. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Also, I've sent an invitation to Vladimir. So it would be great if Vladimir can check out your inbox and accept the invitation, since it will probably expire in days. I don't know. So, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't see it. Let me find it and respond.
All right, sounds good. Then let's go back to the milestone. Let's just pop into this issue, see if there's anything new. Let's see. Yes, we released a new version of the Node API headers for 003. And we can take a look at that. And it is change. I guess this wasn't updated. But that's because I'm on my branch. My fork, excuse me. This makes a lot more sense. We released 003 to update the headers from Node 1960. So that's released. Then we also have Dino version 1.31 has stabilized the Node API implementation with this nice little blog post that we can read about. It used to be there with the unstable flag, similar to, I guess, our experimental features flags, but guess everything is good to go there now. So that's exciting. All right. Let me put a thumbs up so that we know that we discussed this. All right, then back to the milestones, and then let's go to the stale issues. Nick is working on this one. I believe we are waiting from the original poster to respond. I think we should close out this issue. I mean, because it's just been stale from November and going in and out of stale status. I'm just going to close this issue then. What do we think about that? I hear no objections, so I'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah, let's do it. If
Yeah.
there is any new, I believe the author can open it again anyways.
Yeah. All right, that sounds good to me. Close with comment. All right, and I don't think I can edit, so next week Michael will have to work on that one to remove it. Segmentation faults. This I do not have any update. Last week we discussed me trying to replicate the crash using a Docker image or something like that, but I just haven't gotten around to it. So moving on, we've got a couple of ones that are blocked based off of the feature bits, runtime semantics. There is the object wrap sort of cleanup that needs to be done asynchronously, or the cleanup is asynchronous right now because of the destructor running and set immediate or something like that. But that's all documented in that runtime schematics document. The same with this issue, but say function should handle the exceptions and async callbacks, the same as Node. This is documented as a change needed for the runtime semantics. And let's see. Since we have that implementers group created, I guess we just have to fill that group up with users before we can ask for feedback from them regarding the runtime semantics. Or what?
We can also send them private emails anyways before we can gather the contact in the group.
Okay. I also vaguely remember, didn't we have an issue already created to get sort of feedback? Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there anything that we need to, like, what are the next steps that are needed in order to move forward with this runtime semantics versioning?
The next step is to land the PR Vladimir submitted that doesn't change the how the runtime behaves, but let's see the issue number.
It was a registration. Remember, like I did update today
Yeah,
morning with registration PR. Just seems like some linter bugs there. I'll fix it today.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
this
would be great.
deprecate something. Deprecate. This one.
This one, okay, yes.
So
All right.
I updated, like I addressed all this Anna's feedback. She want to have some comments on unit test and also add this deprecated flag and to add this new linked module registration. So I added this linked module registration, I added tests for it. The only question I have, I guess, should I update documentation about this deprecated registration method?
I think anytime we deprecate a method, it should be documented.
Okay. So let me finish it today. Like I'll address this linter issues and change documentation. But technically, it should be ready for sign off end of this week or like early next week.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Yeah, thank you for working on it.
Sorry, it took me too long. It was quite busy time at work.
Never mind, it's fine. Yeah.
No worries. So then we have this issue here, which is documenting the cleanup order. And that said that we needed to merge this first PR. Come on, Zoom. You're doing the weird thing where I can't see my tabs. Okay, so we needed to get this PR merged in before we could update the documentation. And I think you were having a crash or a hang on specific.
Yeah, I have updated the PR to be compatible with Muso libc. But the Jenkins CI has been locked down for server updates. So I will try to restart the CI later today so that we can see how it goes on the Alpine CI jobs.
Gotcha. Okay. Sounds good to me. All right, so we're back here at still issues. Then the last issue is this sample issue that Vladimir, you were working on a while ago. Any update on this one?
Yeah, sorry, no update yet.
No problem.
I need to clean up it soon. Sorry, guys, it takes forever.
No problem. All right, then that's it for stale issues. So then we have issues in the repos. Does anybody have any issue they would like to discuss explicitly? Otherwise, we'll just take a look at what's out there. All right, then let us take a look. We talked about this one already last week for type tagging objects for externals. What was the outcome that we decided? I see we didn't take any notes here.
I think like last time we said, like, let's think about through this issue a bit because this is changing some semantic what we used to have before. I know that you created this, Kevin, then you created this tag stuff. You meant to have it's for external, but currently in the code, it never says external, it only says object. And we need to kind of clarify with semantic and decide what to do because it's important for other Node API implementers.
Right.
To have the same semantic or not.
The documentation for the underlying NAPI type tag object call says, it's something like type tag object. This is what I want in JS object, the object to be marked. We need to, the team team needs to clarify the command semantics of this implications on other engines that implement Node API. How does that sound?
Right, and I guess if we just said about, for example, Dino implemented Node API. I wonder like if Dino supports external or not.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, I assume, right. So, I mean, they should have external objects because otherwise they wouldn't be implementing the full specification. Maybe that is the case. I don't know. But whether or not type tag object works with externals, that is a question that I guess is an open question for any of the runtimes engines that implement Node API.
So I guess like what we probably should start with is to add explicit unit test, which, for example, uses a external value type and to make sure that it works for tags. Because if we have tests, then any implementers of Node API would actually make sure that this test passes.
I see. Yeah, the current test that we have for type tag object uses objects. All right, okay. I'll go ahead and comment this.
I, for example, personally have not against that this tag to work for externals. Just we need to make sure that we have it in documentation, we have it in tests. Pretty much anyone who implements Node API would know about this semantic.
Right. I mean, it's almost as if the feature was created not specifically for externals, but you know, like how else can you tell one external value? How can you tell what data type it's holding compared to another external value, you know? And that's exactly what this type tagging can solve. So it's almost as if, you know, they're meant to work together, but the documentation does not explicitly say so. So,
right, but I think this issue is mostly against Node-add-on API, right? And think it's orthogonal. So here we probably, since it works in core Node API, in this C++ API, we clearly see a bug, right? So probably we need to.
right. I mean, just because like it works in the core does not necessarily mean that that is the intended behavior, I would say, because you know the docs do explicitly state that it's an object, and you know it could be the case that it should not work for externals, even though we both believe that you know it should. But you know this documentation really needs to be updated to say explicitly say externals as well, because you know like if for some reason type tag object is not supposed to work for externals, then it doesn't make sense to add the functionality inside the Node add-on API wrapper. either, you know? So like in my mind, I would want to update the wrapper only once we get clarification on the semantics of this type tag object. Does that make sense?
I agree, but according to you, like it's type tag objects are created for externals in the first place.
Right. I mean, that's just my opinion, though. You know, and in the meantime, you know, there's this quick workaround, which is just a static cast of the value type, but
Yeah, but I guess this cast may not work after changes semantic of as function, right?
I was wondering that even though the document says the created external is not an object, but in JavaScript, I was wondering what would the type of operator returning on the returned value when of the API created external. I assume it's still an object in V8, but I didn't validate that. I'm still need to look into the test case.
let's see.
Yes, you're right. Like if you take V8, V8 has isObject. IsObject is true in our case for objects, for external, and for functions.
Which I guess that kind of makes sense as to why it works with the type tag object, because I remember looking at the source back a while ago, and it explicitly it checks for the object type. Here. For object, we have object here, check to object with preamble. Right. So since the external is technically an object, this technically works, you know.
Right. And to object, what does it do? It does actually do conversion, similar to what we do for properties.
Your guess is as good as mine. And of course, it doesn't actually give the definition anywhere. This is just the use. No, here it is. It's going to go through all of the types of macro changes, but calls. But I don't know off the top of my head what that does. But you know, I just see object.
Right.
I just checked out the test case in our code. There is a test case that verified the return value of Node API create external is an object in JavaScript. Wait a minute, I'll share the link in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here it is.
Okay. Yes. So, I mean, one could say that technically, since the type of the value is an object, then the restriction that this value needs to be an object technically is valid.
Yeah, and the statement in the API create external might be incorrect with what JavaScript would perceive. You know, even though it says it's not an object, but API, even though API type of returns the API external type, but in JavaScript it's still an object type.
Still an object, right? Right.
So
So
could we
that
say that we expect external to be an object type?
I mean, in the current text test says it's an object, but I'm not sure if the statement that it doesn't support additional properties is correct.
Like what would happen if you tried to use object define property on an external?
Yeah, like say what about we adding additional properties, assigning properties to the external value?
I think it's a V8 kind of feature. If you try to create a new properties on external, it would fail. I think V8 does not allow to do it.
Yeah, if this is true, we should add a test case to verify to include this as one of our test suite.
That makes sense. To verify that trying to assign a property to an object does not actually, to an external, does not actually assign the property.
Yeah, like say if either it is frozen or yeah, makes
That
sense.
makes sense. Okay. Let me
Just think like imagine some other engines which are not V8 and they don't have embedded external type, and they would use normal object type to implement it. Would it require to do more work for them to actually less efficient just because of this new test?
Yeah, that's a problem.
That is a good point. I don't want to, yeah.
We can still do nothing for
yeah, but you're right.
this
They can
statement.
simply do it,
Yeah.
make it frozen, right? Like, so technically, frozen object says like you can change existing properties, but you can't add new properties. Is it correct?
Yeah.
Okay, then we just simply can recommend if, for example, engine does not implement kind of embedded external types, they can use frozen object. So then, yes, test would work. Yeah, you're right. Yes.
Yeah, it can be achieved with existing JavaScript techniques.
Okay. Yeah, good point.
For engines doesn't support external types.
That makes sense. All right. Anything else to discuss regarding this one before moving on?
I guess we just need to decide who is going to fix it now.
Because so we need to, the action is to create a test to see if the external can have properties added to it, right? And then go from there. Like if it can have properties added to it, then this statement is incorrect and would need to be updated. If it cannot have values added to it or properties added to it, then the statement is correct and there's nothing that we need to do except maybe update the documentation for type tag just to say the JavaScript object or external.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
If you like, I can do it.
Okay, let me just drop that down.
No one else wants to do it.
Setting a property on an external. If the property if it's the documentation for MPI.
Actually, I would find a better wording would be creating a unit test in core that verify API tag tag object can be applied on external.
Okay,
Rather than verifying the setting the property on an external type, as I think it's a separate issue on the semantics of API external.
I see. Okay.
Do we have a test which is concerning externals? Like test external?
No, I didn't find a dedicated test case. It's just in the link I shared in the chat, which is located in the test reference. So
Okay.
probably we can create a dedicated test case for external too.
Yeah, I think it will be best. So in this case, people can just simply look on this test and see what works, what doesn't. And what we discussed about properties, setting, getting, like we can also make it as a part of this new test.
Yeah.
Okay. If so, we update the for those two methods to say the JavaScript object. Then update the data to say JavaScript object or Node API external. Let's just say external. I guess that's basically what we're deciding, right?
Good.
All right. And we're gonna comment. All right. So Vladimir, you said you wanted to take a look at this first
Yeah.
point.
Let me do it. Yes.
Okay. All right, then moving on. Let's see. I don't have any new issues. We have a notification here though. Oh, this one just hasn't. Electron reload. This is probably having to do with the finalization order again. Yeah, I'll try. If I have some time, I'll try to take a look at this one as well. It may just have to deal with the order of finalization and things being cleaned up, not as expected of inside the add-on. Okay, moving over to core then. Issues, label, Node API. Nothing new here. Let's see if there's been any discussions. No, nothing new. All right, let's check this other one. This one's been out for a while as well. Let's see if there's anything new. Nope, nothing new. There's this Node.js feature request thing that is new. I haven't seen this. Oh, well, look at that here. A bunch of issues for feature requests. I guess there's some reorganization going on of the project, but all right. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to discuss or bring up? No. Okay. Well, then I guess we can end this week's meeting early, and I will.
Actually,
yeah.
sorry, I have one interesting point. This week I had a discussion with one of our developers who was working on Babylon Native, and he told me that we're currently using, I believe, private properties often inside of our Node API code.
Okay.
And according to him, it's a relatively slow thing. So instead, in his fork of Node API implementation, he was using private fields. And I wonder if what Tim thinks about if we try to change it from properties to fields, which is supposed to improve perf of Node API.
Does he have any like statistics or benchmarks for his changes?
Probably not. It's something what we probably should try to create it, but just want to kind of bring it to your attention today. Like so, it seems like we may want to do some perf improvements there.
Right. Do you know what the difference between a private field and a private property are in V8?
I don't know exactly. This Babylon Native is all about some 3D visualization, and so technically any kind of perf issues like this was quite visible for them. That's why they changed it. They wrapping up a V8 engine directly, but they use it through Node API.
I see. I see.
In their kind of fork of Node API implementation, they did this change.
Gotcha.
And he says like it was quite visible inside for the perf kind of. Then he looked at the perf.
Right. I mean, in my mind, anything that improves the performance would be great. But I just don't know the underlying details of, the differences between private field and private property, or if there would be any repercussions down in some code base somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. But I think the best part, or the first place to start, would probably collecting those benchmark statistics and see what the actual performance gain is to determine if it warrants making any changes.
Okay, I'll work with him to figure out if he has a benchmark which we can use as a kind of starting point.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Anybody have anything else they'd like to discuss? Nope. Okay, then we will wrap this week's meeting up, and I will catch you guys online and